Welcome to My New Day. We all want to grow in our relationships with each other, with our families, with our coworkers, and we are so thankful when God brings us a guest who can really help us in the area of relationships. And Rick Johnson is with us. And I love all the books he's written. And this one called Romancing Your Better Half is not a disappointment. I really enjoyed this book.
Good. As well, here at My New Day, we want to do everything that we can to help you not only fight for your family, but fight for your relationships, fight for your marriage and your generations. After yesterday's program, there's one real great takeaway that I had, and that is this: have a long-term vision. You know, you're gonna hit some really high peaks. I mean, it's gonna be wonderful. It feels as though, you know, you've got it all conquered, and then you're gonna hit a moment where it feels like, wow, you know, how do I abandon and get out of this? But, you know, don't allow yourself in those moments to give up on what can bring the greatest joy and bring the greatest stability to your generations. So to have Rick Johnson as our guest is an absolute joy.
Yes.
The book, Audrey, again.
Romancing Your Better Half.
Today we're going to talk about what makes a good marriage.
So we're going to get right down to it, but first help us welcome Rick to the studio. We are so thankful for you, Rick, for your friendship. We just love having you here.
I'm excited to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And okay, go ahead, Bob.
Okay, you got a quote, right?
I do.
All right, hit that first and then I'll go.
Okay, well, this is what I wanted to quote to you from your own book. You're a great writer, by the way.
This.
I did write.
You're a great...
Although, you know, by the time the editors get done, I read it and I'm going, that guy's pretty sharp. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I didn't write that.
I mean, this is a good book. This is well written. Loving a woman is very easy. You said this. On the other hand, it's very difficult and sometimes nearly impossible. Frequently, it doesn't take much to make women happy. A kind word, an unexpected expression of love, or a romantic gesture with no expectations. But other times, no matter what a man does, it's never enough. And likewise, women find men perplexing as well. So we have an interesting phenomenon here with relationships, don't we?
I think we do.
And so I was hoping that you could help us with how to understand each other. Because if we've got a long-term vision, like we talked about in the last program, how can we persevere through times when it's not making sense?
Right. Well, first of all, just to follow on to that quote a little bit, I think part of the issue with that is that, again, our culture creates unrealistic expectations for a lot of females.
Yes.
As to what marriage is going to look like, that I'm always going to be happy, that he's going to know what I want before I even know what I want. Right?
That's
I mean,
a big
that
joke.
kind of thing. So that being said...
How do you read my mind and always know exactly what to do to make me happy?
That was before we were married. You know, and it's like you couldn't do anything wrong.
That was those drugs we talked about.
Exactly.
Those special endorphins that go through your mind when you're in love.
So one of the things I think the lifeblood of marriage is communication. And, you know, what does that look like? Communication with males and communication with females are two very different things. Females typically communicate verbally to process information, process emotions, draw closer and more intimate with their partners. For males, typically communication is about transmitting information.
Nonverbal.
Well, yeah, I mean, females 3 times as many words a day, twice the vocabulary as the average male.
Yeah.
So, you know, it can be intimidating to sit down across the table eye to eye from somebody who's so much more skilled at something as in verbal communication.
It's also very intimidating to be doing all the talking and I'm not getting anything back. You got to look at it both ways here, Rick.
Well, here's the interesting thing that I think women need to understand.
I'm glad you find yourself entertaining, though.
That's when he goes, well, I hope you're enjoying yourself visiting with yourself.
That's a good point. One of the things that I think women need to understand is that you know, there have been some interesting studies done on the human brain. University of Pennsylvania, places like that have done MRI scans on male brains, female brains.
So what did they find?
Especially during verbal communication. They found with females, when they talk, one side or the other, both sides of their brain light up at the same time, indicating brainwave activity is taking place. When they stop talking, one side or the other goes dark. One side stays lit. When males talk, one side or the other lights up, and when they stop talking, both sides go dark. So when you ask your husband, what are you thinking, honey? And he says nothing.
He's
honest.
Right.
He's telling you the truth. But, you know, males have evolved, biologically, been able to do that because for thousands of years, a man's job was to hunt to provide for his family. And if you've ever hunted and had to sit quietly for a long period of time and not move or not make noise, that ability to shut your brain off keeps you from going insane, probably. Whereas females spent time evolving with the group, raising children, hunting, gathering, things like that.
And I really heard your word processing. Women process while they talk. So we haven't come to a great conclusion before we start talking. We just start bringing out the puzzle pieces and how it's feeling. And I remember one time Bob, asked me if I think before I talk. And I said, well, no, because I want to be as surprised as everyone else of what comes out, right?
That's what Bob told me, yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I think men's biggest problems is that because we are programmed to solve problems, we think that a lot of times when females are talking, they want us to help them solve a problem, and they don't.
No, we just want to process.
They want to process. Yes. They want to draw it more intimate. They want to draw closer.
And then, what? You had an incredibly great quote. I don't even have to turn to it. But in this book, you said, good and great communication is when someone feels understood. And when you feel understood, it just makes you feel so loved and so safe. But if you process and you're getting, just fix, or I don't get it, what are you doing talking to me like this? You don't feel understood. So then you just back off.
And I think for a lot of people, can't feel loved if they don't feel understood. I think that's how powerful that is.
It is.
And we all have this deep, deep desire to be loved and to be understood. It's a very powerful need in all of us. The challenge is, I think sometimes, is that because it's such a powerful need that we are afraid to open up and communicate things that we need because we're afraid of being rejected, because it is such a powerful need within our lives.
The greatest fear, that people have is that if you understood me, then you wouldn't love me. And so, for women, they want to be understood because they really want to be loved. And for men, it's like, well, if you really knew what was going on in my brain when it lights up, not a whole lot.
On the rare occasions.
Yeah, exactly. But the whole thing is we live in fear of being fully known. Because if you were to really know me, my fear is that you wouldn't love me. And that will keep a man, withdrawn and very cautious in what he shares.
Well, and the two people that a man needs validation and respect from are his wife and his father. And those are the two people that we are generally the most fearful of reaching out to, because I think for the very reason what you just stated is that we're afraid that A, that we're going to get rejected, but B, that somehow, especially with our wives, that if they really knew us, that they wouldn't love us or even like us anymore.
So you've had that feeling too?
Absolutely.
Wow, because I haven't. So it must be a guy thing.
Must be a guy thing.
No, because I feel like you could know me and you'll love me. I feel like the more you know me, you'll love me. No, I'm just telling you the truth.
I know. And again, that's the difference. And that's the beauty, that we have, that we're able to bring, and that's what makes marriage so unique.
So what do you think a woman's greatest fear then is in that regard?
I think a woman's greatest fear is she's not gonna feel safe in communication, because if I really share my heart with you, you're gonna be scary. You're gonna attack back because maybe your worth isn't intact, so to speak, and so this is gonna become my fault. And so then I think that a woman just really wants to be safe and happy. So when her husband is angry or quiet, it makes us want to draw him out, but we end up poking him like a turtle. And when you poke a turtle, it'll stay in its shell for a long, long time. So we try and be patient, but then still nothing. So we poke again. And then when they finally poke out their head just a little bit, then we go.
Then you feel like a wild, cornered animal.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So I think this is my issue as a woman, is that I have to understand how different Bob is in order for me to get my needs met.
See, and I, from the women that I've talked to, similar vein, rejection and abandonment are the two things that they fear the most in their relationships. And that plays into exactly what you're talking about in that whole dynamic of why when men withdraw or are quiet, women are poking them with a stick, because they have this need to be reassured that they're not going to be abandoned, they're not being rejected.
They're going to be safe. And to me, safety is when there's no anger. You see, anger, I think, from a man is probably about the scariest thing for a woman. That'll make us really want to shut
Because
down.
that's the rejection. That's the pushback.
But interestingly, anger for most men is a very comfortable emotion.
Really?
It covers a lot of other emotions that are more humiliating, like fear, rejection, humiliation, things like that. But it also empowers us, gives us strength, it protects us, keeps people away from us. And I think a lot of men we don't even know that we're doing it, but we're using anger as a secondary emotion to cover other emotions that maybe we're not comfortable with. Like I said, fear, anxiety, humiliation, things like that.
And it gives you a powerful feeling.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, just the adrenal glands and the hormones that it produces give us strength and power. Nobody messes with an angry man, right? Doesn't matter if you're tough or not. No, if he's angry, you leave him alone, right? So
this is eye-opening for me, Bob.
It's good.
Because I didn't know that anger could be so comfortable. I hate anger. Anger freaks me out.
If it gets me what I want, that's
most men get mad. They blow it off. We don't even think about it. And we say things that we don't really mean in anger. We don't even think about what comes out of our mouth. We're just blowing off steam, and then we feel better, and then we wonder why our wives
are completely hurt and
devastated. Exactly.
Yes.
And it's like, why are you
wounded?
Why are you wounded? Yeah. What's going on?
Okay, we're talking about
romancing your.
We're talking about romancing your better half. Doesn't sound like it. Sounds like we're
working
refereeing a boxing match here.
That's right.
But within romance, though, we're looking at communication as really being key. And Audrey, and you're holding your own very well. She's beginning to express, and I hope our viewers are hearing this, especially the men, of what a woman needs.
Right.
And that they are very, very different, because we tend to project, what we want, and we're rather than giving what the other one is needing, which I think is a big part of romance.
So how can we communicate in a way that is romantic?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question.
Oh, genius. Genius of the romance.
Well, here's one of the things that I think plays into a woman's need for, and this hit me one day. I was really busy at work. I was doing a lot of writing. I was traveling a lot. And frankly, I wasn't spending a lot of time with my wife. And she was acting out in certain ways that were not real pleasant. And it was because she wasn't getting her needs met. And so I basically took a whole weekend, and we went to the farmer's market on Saturday morning. We bought fresh produce and flowers and spent the day together. Then in the evening, I took her to a barn dance, and we had a good time. And then the next morning, I took her up, and we went to the largest antiques and collectible show west of the Mississippi and spent the day, okay? And as we're driving, what am I doing? I'm not doing anything but spending some time with my wife. While we're driving home, my wife can't stop chattering about how happy she is and how excited she is. And the thing that she said that struck me the most was, I had your undivided attention. I finally had your undivided attention for the whole weekend. And it was as simple as that. That was speaking her language.
Yes.
That was fulfilling the needs that she had. To her, that was being romantic.
Yes.
For me, it was just suffering through this antique collectible show, right, for 8 hours or however long we were there.
But you didn't voice that, did you?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
No, I'm 34 years. I'm smart enough to know when to keep my mouth shut, right?
But a woman wants to feel priority.
Yes.
And so what you did was you put everything aside to make her priority. And that speaks so loud of romance to a woman.
And I can't tell you how many women have told me that their husband's undivided attention makes them feel important, needed, wanted, cherished. And it's just as simple as not looking at your phone or looking at the basketball game in the background while you're trying to talk to her, but that you actually give her your full undivided attention.
So true. That's really good. And it works.
So there's romantic talk right there.
Yeah. How about me now
perspective.
as to what's romantic communication for me to Bob?
Well, and I think it doesn't have to always be verbal, which is how I think females are more comfortable communicating. But a female can show respect and admiration for her husband in ways just by the way she acts, by the way she talks about him behind his back, by the way she talks about him in public. My wife does all kinds of little things that you would normally associate maybe with that. And they're as simple as, while the kids were growing up, she always put the food on my plate first. It's not because I was an ogre and wanted, she did it because it was her way of showing respect for me.
Yeah, honoring you.
And it made me feel very honored that she would do just something simple. She monitors the phone calls that come in, so I don't have to deal with, telemarketers or whatever. I mean, just simple things like that where she's showing respect and admiration for me. I heard a woman say once to a group of other women, she said, Suzanne edifies her husband in public more than any woman I've ever met. And I was like, man, the buttons are popping off my shirt, right?
Nice.
Wow.
I mean, and a guy told me, he says, I don't care if my wife talks me up to my face, but behind my back, that's more important. Can you imagine your wife talking bad about you? How devastating that would be.
Wow, that's a really...
Think about that. And what do women do? They talk to their friends.
And that's just a hobby
about
for women.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember just even very early on in my marriage, making it an intention to say, I don't want to disrespect my husband in that way. And it's one thing to be helping someone a problem through an actual issue with someone and bringing encouragement. I'll let one of my friends talk, but I'll say, okay, now what is you can't change your husband, but what can your response be, and how can you speak to the king in him, even though he's not acting like a king right now?
Right.
So I think not that I'm perfect in any way, but I sure do see the value in speaking publicly.
I know that. We're going to run out of time.
Are you serious?
Quicker than quick.
Wow.
Oh, we are. But Rick was with us today, and he'll be with us again tomorrow. But communication was number one that we wanted to talk about in today's program. There's love, there's romantic intimacy, and then also sex. So we've got about 3 minutes here. Okay? So let's talk about romantic intimacy and sex. All right?
Well, romance and intimacy, I think, is the soul of your marriage,
guy,
right?
It's 3 minutes, no problem.
Yeah.
All right?
And again,
Nice joke, Bob.
I
think
thought so.
everybody has
But
this.
no one was laughing.
Desperate.
I was.
Okay.
I laugh at any joke.
Okay.
I'm a good wife.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, Rick. We'll listen to you now.
Are you guys done making out over there? Yeah, that's a great example, though. Actually, I was just going to bring that point up about touch.
Yeah.
Physical touch is people that hold hands, it lowers blood pressure. When people are in the hospital, it actually helps them to get, holding hands helps them to get well faster. Having somebody next to you. It's just that physical skin-to-skin contact.
Yes.
I had a great experience. I was at it's called Compassion Connect. A friend of mine started them, and it basically just brings in dentists and doctors to work with the indigent homeless population. And the booth I was at, I noticed next to us that they were giving free haircuts. Yeah. And the people cutting the hair were rubbing these homeless people's, and I was kind of like, at first they're not even wearing gloves, right?
Yeah.
Kind of gross, right?
Right.
But I watched the demeanor of these people change as they were touching them, and they calmed down, and they gave their humanity back, and it was just through the human touch that made that difference.
So just as much as we can add that into our marriage
Absolutely.
To make it, when I walk by.
I know people that don't ever touch each other.
Yes.
They never sit next to each other. They never hold hands.
Right.
They
And
never
even
kiss.
just walking by and just going like this does amazing things.
Oh, yeah.
Those
Lowered
things
Bob's
make a
blood
difference.
pressure right there.
I felt the peace.
Yeah.
The peace just went all over him.
No, it's all good.
It's that easy. It's more simple than we think. Sometimes when you read a title of a book like this, Romancing Your Better Half, you think, wow, that's intimidating. What can I do?
Yeah.
But
you mean I got to buy flowers again?
Yeah.
You've
got to plant them, grow them, pick them.
I just bought flowers before I left, by the way.
Good call on that.
They were just 'cause flowers.
Yeah, I love
Just
those.
'cause I was thinking
and that
about
is
it.
romantic.
Yep.
But what you're really doing for us, Rick, is you're just making it part of our everyday, our simple life of touching each other, communicating with each other, speaking life into each other. Those are making each other feel understood.
when you take a look at husbands and wives, there's, Audrey's not my answer and she's not my source. And neither am I to her, but what we are is each other's number one contributor. There's no one that makes deposits of significance, of value, of love in my life. There's no one more significant in my life than Audrey. And I think, for us, that is extremely romantic.
It is. Good. So thank you so much, Rick. We're going to actually ask you to give us some homework after this break. Good. But in the meantime, we're going to tell you how you can get this book. It's for men and women. We hope you get a copy. We'll be back right after this.
Over 10 years ago, Bob and Audrey wrote their first book, Marriage Undercover, bringing hope for wholeness and healing for tens of thousands of couples. Their passion for marriage and family has taken them around the globe. Crossing cultural and language barriers, the powerful message of God's redeeming love and grace through this couple continues to grow. Either seated with individuals or standing before the masses, people are walking free from bitterness and shame. These countries and cities represented homes and individuals who have discovered the ability of God to forgive each other and walk in truth and love, the kind only God can give. Unwilling to live victim to the pain of their past, Bob and Audrey have emerged with their greatest passion. With their transparent and vulnerable approach, they connect quickly with their audience, no matter what stage of life they're in, to offer solutions for hope and a future. Since 1976, New Day Ministries has sought to find ways of reaching behind closed doors to release the power of God's transforming love. Partner with Bob and Audrey, and when you do, you share in the reward of connecting individuals, marriages, families, and communities to the transforming love of God. This is Fighting for Families. This is you sharing the love of God to the nations.
Bob and I just really want to wish you a Merry Christmas season. Things are coming up fast, and what I was really praying for you today was specifically about peace. So many of our Christmas carols talk about peace and joy and how Jesus came to bring peace, but sometimes we have to be intentional about peace.
Well, one of his names is actually the Prince of Peace. And so this Christmas, in fact, with every day of our lives, I just want the Prince of Peace to take residence in your life, in every situation that you face.
It's true, and especially in your family. We know you love your family, and we love fighting for families. In fact, in this next year, in 2016, we have vision to help marriages and families more than ever. But today for you, I pray that you'll be able to release your cares to the Lord. Just give him your cares because he cares for you.
Yeah, and remember this, that Jesus being your Prince of Peace, it's not the absence of war, the absence of fighting, the absence of a quarrel, but as your family comes around a dinner table, as you share a meal with one another, recognize peace is the presence of someone. So invite Jesus, the Prince of Peace, to take residence in your own heart and life.
We love being family with you. We just love it. Thank you so much for your gifts this year. And so that says I wasn't beautiful enough. And I think that every woman has to answer the beauty question apart from anyone else and apart from circumstances. But she has to get to that place where she hears God calling her beautiful to get healing, is what I'm saying. You're talking about
so
baggage.
Many of them want or need that from their husbands, and we can't fulfill that.
No.
I think Bob mentioned that on one of the other shows. You have to get that from God.
Yeah.
A man can't fulfill those needs.
A discovered missing piece can bring the resolve you've been longing for. Each day, we will write a devotional and email it directly to your inbox. Let's take it to a whole new level. Clarity, joy, and peace with a daily glimpse into today's program. Sign up online. Don't miss another golden nugget of truth capable of bringing the needed direction for your day. This is a free offer. Sign up today.
Hello, I'm Jim Richards, and I want to invite you to be a part of this New Day family. What an incredible opportunity to take the gospel to Canada through television and then through the entire world through internet. You will help us change lives all over the world.
Our guest is Rick Johnson. The website, betterdads.net. The book that we're featuring is Romancing Your Better Half. Before we, throw it to Rick here, and he's going to give us some real practical application, I do want to take a moment and just say thank you to you, to all of our New Day partners and families that financially invest to help us fight for families and for marriages. And I'm looking for more of you to partner with us here at My New Day. We need your involvement. And I know that the perception often is that, they're on television, they must have lots of money. Well, we're supported exclusively by viewers just like you. And I just want you to know that we need more partners and friends that recognize the value that fighting for families is worth it. So would you contact, call us, or you can give online, and we would greatly, greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank
we
you.
really do need that. And Rick, now, can you help us with the homework? Give us something practical.
Yeah. Okay, two practical things.
Okay.
First of all, I would say to make it a practice of every day hugging your spouse. I think so many of us are so busy, we go through our days, we don't even talk to our spouse maybe at night, and then we're tired. Make it a habit of giving a hug to your spouse every day. The other thing is to take and spend 30 seconds and just stare into each other's eyes. Just do this once at the beginning of the week. Do it for 30 seconds. Be uncomfortable, but just do it. Take your glasses off. No talking. Just do it for 30 seconds. You will transmit a lot of communication. It is such an intimate experience that's why it's so uncomfortable.
Yes.
And that's what we need to do. We need to start breaking down some of those uncomfortable barriers that we develop as we go through our marriage.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Audrey and I, when we conduct marriage seminars, this is exactly, this is it. And I'm telling you, for many couples, they'll look into each other's eyes, and we'll do a few intimacy exercises like this, and they begin to weep and cry.
Because they haven't remembered the last time that they've looked into each other's eyes.
And it becomes so awkward sometimes for them that, they're looking for a distraction.
Right.
But I can't encourage you enough to linger there for a moment. And if you find it awkward, that's where you begin to talk about it.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
Rick,
Rick.
for coming on the program. We're going to have you back on tomorrow.
All right.
We're going to talk more about romancing your spouse. And thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.